What's up? I got a couple ideas rolling around in my head this morning. I've been trying to figure out how quality relationships are understood on a conceptual level. Um, Trust, intimacy, vulnerability, and all of that. How they interact, how they work together. I think I define trust so far as a sharing of weight. You have all these things that you carry in life that make you feel heavy: responsibility, burdens, worries, anxieties, things that you like, things that you want. All of these things, when you pile them together, it gets heavy. It's hard to carry it by yourself. And so when you trust somebody, you share the weight. You give them some of the weight for them to carry. That's why it says carry each other's burdens. And you grow closer when you do that, because you literally have to lean on somebody else. When you give them your weight, you're leaning on them. And so that it brings you guys closer together, because when you lean on somebody, you literally get closer together. And so intimacy, I think, is the ultimate elimination of all distance between two. So if you're totally intimate, there's no distance between you anymore. You become one. And you're in ultimate balance, ultimate leaning against each other. And this makes sense because when you grow in relationship with somebody, you say things like, I just feel so close to them. I want to be around them all the time. We literally represent the metaphysical feeling that we get with the physical placement of our bodies. What do I mean by that? So if you look at your house as a great example of this, strangers knock on the door. They can't just come in. It's because you're not that close with them. You don't know who they are. They could be dangerous. They could hurt you. And so they have to knock. Friends come into the living room and you say things like, oh yeah, make yourself at home. But if they start rearranging furniture, you're going to be like, dude, this is not your house. What are you doing? And it's because they're closer than strangers, but they don't live there. So who does live there? Well, that's the kids. Kids get their own room. And then, even then, they can't go and sleep in mom and dad's bed after like the age of 6. Only mom and dad can do that. And so the closer that you get intimacy-wise, the closer that is represented physically. Like, they are physically there. And I'm not saying there aren't exceptions to this, but for the most part, like, that's a high probability rule of how we express ourselves. That's why people who they value exercising, they go to the gym all the time. They value eating right, they eat all the right things. It's like you spend time with what you value. And so if you were to view relationships that way, when you trust somebody and you lean on them, you lean on them emotionally and physically, all at the same time. Now, this is proportionate to the role somebody plays in your life. Like, if you're responsible for your children, that's going to be different than if you're responsible for your wife, because you're playing a different role. The purpose is different. And so the type of intimacy that you're going to have with your children is going to be a different type of intimacy than you have with your wife. Like, you'll probably talk more about guiding the children with your wife than you do with the actual children, because it doesn't make sense to do that. That's a different role, it's a different purpose, it's a different responsibility. And you can lean on your children in other ways, such as giving you the feeling that you're taking care of something, or you're helping guide somebody's future, like the coach, player, mentor, mentee, father, son type of relationship. And that re-inspires the coach, and it definitely inspires the player for the first time. And so, like, the kind of advantages that you get are different because the intimacy is different. And so the physical relationship is different, right? That's why you share the bed with your wife and not with your children. And so intimacy is it's where the two become one, basically. If you're perfectly intimate, the most intimate that you can get, you literally become one. And again, this is represented physically, but it's represented emotionally even more so, because in the Bible it says that when you get married, the two become one. And it's saying that because now the married couple are doing life together. They're doing everything together. They share everything with one another. And so, yes, it's represented physically, but it's really supposed to be represented in your relationships. So when people have their walls up like they do to the house, what happens is you start dating and your walls are up, and you don't know if you want to let this person in because you don't know who they are. And then you grow to like them a little bit, and you let them pass some of your defenses, and your walls come down a little bit, and you start to be more vulnerable. And then they come in even farther, and you start to tell them things about your family, about your past, things that hurt you, things that you wouldn't just tell everybody. And then eventually you're like, you know what, this person's the one. I want to marry this person. And then, you share life together for forever. It just becomes the person that you go to tell things. And that is the quality side of the relationship, right? Because when you lean on each other, then you can trust each other, and you become one, and that brings unity to the relationship. And if you have unity, then you move in the same direction together. You're carrying the weight together. And so obviously people have been hurt in the past by relationships. They don't want to do that again. Like if they go through a bad breakup, or if somebody lets them down, or somebody betrays them, they don't want to do it again because it hurt so much the first time. And I understand that because of the amount of pain that it does cause when you trust somebody and they let you down. But then you carry all the weight by yourself. All of the burdens of life, you have to carry it by yourself. You don't get to share it with anybody. You don't get to do it with somebody. And so it's fine if you don't want to try that again, but it just brings you towards a life of isolation and extreme white knuckle grit. And that doesn't sound like a very fulfilling life. And so you got to flex the trust muscle. And I think that's what vulnerability is. It's deciding to let people in, proportionate to whatever role you would like them to have in your life. Because again, you don't just trust strangers with your deepest, darkest secrets, because you don't know if you will get hurt. But if there's a sense in you that says, no, you should open up. It's time to open up to this person. You can trust them. This isn't a them thing. This is a you thing. Then the vulnerability is purposefully letting your walls down. And if this were to be represented physically, again, it would be like your wife is on the doorstep of your house, and you know that if she comes in, she's only going to help with whatever you're going through, but you don't let her in because you're afraid. That's kind of what it's like. And so trusting is letting people in so that they can help. And you let them touch your wounds, hoping that they'll bring healing and not more pain. And it doesn't always happen that way, but again, you don't want to be in isolation. It would almost be like if you go to sit on a chair and you trust the chair not to let you fall, and then the chair breaks and you fall to the ground and you literally get butt hurt. And then you get up and you're like, you know what, screw this, I'm never sitting again. I can't do this. I don't want to sit in chairs. It let me down. And that's fine, but then you stand for the rest of your life, and so you never get rest. And so the better answer is just to find a chair that'll hold your weight. And it's the same thing with people. That's right. Someone let you down and you got hurt, you fell, and now your butt hurt. And for good reason, because people suck. But that doesn't mean that all people suck. There's some people that don't suck. And so a better solution than giving up on people entirely is just to find somebody that will help hold your weight. You can rely on them. You can lean on them. And so I think it's the same thing with God. We look to the hills for God. He's on the horizon. He's in the stars. He's in the books that I'm reading. He's in the goal that I'm setting. He'll meet me somewhere when I've tried hard enough. And it's not that. It's literally a sacrifice. It's a letting go of something, and it's allowing him to enter. Well, where does it say Jesus is in the Bible? It says he's in your heart. It doesn't say he's in the achievement. It didn't say he's in the potential version of you. It didn't say any of that. It says it's in the heart. And the heart is an internal thing. It's not an external thing. No, it's a relationship. It's not a contract. And so if you're being vulnerable with God, you're letting him in. You're putting your defenses to the side. You're breaking down your walls. You're opening up, and you're not being closed off, and you're letting him in, and you're letting him speak to you so he can touch your wounds and heal them and not bring pain. And that's how you find intimacy with God. So I would actually encourage you, if you don't have intimacy with God, if you're like, I don't get it, I do all the things that I'm supposed to, but I don't feel close to God, maybe it's because you're looking to what you have done rather than letting him in to your personal life. You're trying to, it's more of a boss-employee relationship. If you do the right things, then you get paid. But he doesn't want that for you. He wants to know the real you, and you can only have that type of relationship if you are intimate with him and you're vulnerable with him and you trust him. So, okay, those are some of the things that I'm thinking about. I'm pulling up here at work, and I'll hash some of those ideas out and concretize them even more, and talk about them more in the future.